He leads us all the way, playing proper football, the Sheff United way. Ale, 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 ale.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and anybody else who is joining me here today. This is the Sheff United way, and today we're doing things just a little bit differently. In terms of the player ratings, obviously, I've been trying to get these done throughout the season, but last night was a very late finish, and I had a very early start. So instead, we thought we'd try something different. There's going to be two of us on the stream. We're going to be debating our player ratings and seeing just what we thought of yesterday's game. Now, before I bring Sam in, let me just say, I thought that game yesterday was probably the game of the season so far at Bramall Lane. I thought it was an incredible game of football. Obviously, it was a real shame to be on the wrong side of that result, losing 2-1. Anybody who follows me on Twitter will know I thought we probably did enough to get a draw. I can absolutely respect how good I think Boro are, and we will talk about that. But I really felt as though it was a huge game yesterday. I thought we had an amazing atmosphere at Bramall Lane. Obviously, we really built it up pre-kickoff, and I thought the first 15 minutes were as good a game of football as you will ever see in the Championship. It was end-to-end. It was exciting. Yes, they took over a little bit from there, but overall, I just thought it was a beautiful game of football to be a part of. And I think that's important to keep in context sometimes, because when we lose, it's easy to get down. But losing a great game of football is a lot more fun than some of the losses we've had earlier in the season where we've lost bad ones. So, yes, let's get into the video. Let me introduce my fabulous guest here today. Welcome, Sam Wise. How are you doing? How are you feeling today?
I'm good, Ollie. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a long day at work, which is why you're noticing a real boost of energy as I come into this video, because I'm just happy that I'm nearly there. We've nearly made it. It's nearly the evening time, and I can nearly go and watch some Modern Family and chill out for a little bit. So from your perspective, I've just said there, I think this is the game of the season in terms of what I've watched in the Championship so far. How good did you think the quality of the game was last night? What was your reflection coming out in terms of how the game was played?
As they always say in football, I think it was a game of two halves. I think first half there were little shinings of something from the Blades, but it was all Boro really. And then second half it really did ramp up the entertainment factor. I thought we could have gone on to get a point. Obviously things didn't quite go our way in terms of that. I think there was a chance, because it was, when did we score? It was the 73rd minute. We still had about 20 minutes of the game left. We could have, stranger things have happened. 3-2 was on the cards, if you ask me. Do I think it was going to happen? Probably not. But it was definitely top game, very entertaining, but also very emotional for me. I got very ramped up on this one, I got to be honest.
Yeah, I think the atmosphere, the build-up, it felt like I think it felt like a big game. And there's not been that many of them, I don't think, at Bramall Lane this year, because where we've been in the league, the way this season's gone, it's always felt a bit flat. It's always felt as though going into Bramall Lane, all of us were a bit like, come on, we've got to win today. There was a desperation. Yesterday, I thought there was a genuine excitement. I think everybody going in felt this was a big game, and everybody lived up to that. And yeah, I can understand why you got a bit excited, shall we say, Sam, is how you were feeling.
Yeah, no, I was yelling. I don't usually do this. I was yelling at the TV and everything. Sometimes I can be a bit, I don't react too much when we score, screaming and shouting, but when we concede, it's just like, oh, whatever. But I just think when the incident with Rothwell happened, I stormed out, actually, I think, and I came storming back in, stormed back out, bit of emotions, high flying emotions from me. But no, it just really got to your blood, this game, in a good way. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I completely agree. But before we do jump into talking about United and talking into our player ratings, let's have a word on Boro, because I have to say I was confident and I was bullish about this yesterday. I thought they were outstanding. I think particularly for that first 45 minutes, I went as far as to say I think they're the best team that we've played at Championship level, other than Leeds from last season, for quite a long time. I thought they were outstanding that first half. Their pass and move, the way that they were just knocking it around first touch and then spinning to make sure they were then an option going forward. The way they pressed in numbers, forced so many mistakes out of us. A word on Boro. How good did you think they were yesterday in terms of their performance?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't realize that Coventry had lost the lead in the league at the time. I mean, I know they dropped off on form a lot, but I mean, yeah, number one in the league. Can't be too unhappy with losing to them when you're in our position. But they played so well. That first half, it was just liquid football. Everything they did really was really fun to watch. Even though I wanted them to slip up and make the mistakes, it was entertaining football from them. No, they were class. Middlesbrough, I think we're always one of those teams that we aren't 100% confident against. They're definitely one of the better teams in the league, but they also never seem to quite finish the season the way they should. But it looks like they might be the full article this season. They were definitely such an opponent, and I think we can still hold our heads up high losing to them, definitely. And to play the way we did, considering that, I think I'm happy with that performance.
Yeah, I completely agree. And let's use that as the hook to take us into talking about United's performance and United's player ratings as we work this through. So the way this one's going to work, because obviously it is a little bit different to how we'd normally do player ratings on the channel, is I'm going to introduce a player. I'll give a little quick summary of what I think about that player, about their performance yesterday. Then I'm going to throw over to Sam. Sam's going to give me his thoughts on the performance. Sam's going to then give me a rating where he felt they sat. We normally do 1 to 10. And if I disagree, I'm going to take the host prerogative and overrule him anyway. So we get to have fun here on the channel, and I get all of the power. So with that in mind, let's start in goal, as we always do. Michael Cooper. And look, there's no getting away from it for me at this stage. He's having a really poor season. He's struggled quite a lot. I thought he was getting his form together in January, but I thought there was a mistake against Oxford. And I'm not saying there was an obvious goal resulting mistake in this one, but I was never confident in Cooper in this game. I think, let's compare that first half. We say that we were battered. We say that they were well on top. We say they were the best team we've seen. And yet we have that one fantastic chance for Harmer. He goes across goal to the far corner. Their keeper makes a great save. They have one chance. He goes across goal to the far corner. It's in the back of the net. I'm not saying he should save it. He should do better. But in those two moments, you can see the difference between the two teams and the scoreline at half time. We then have the fact that in possession, I thought he struggled so much. His kicking was really poor. He put us in danger 2 or 3 times. Not all his fault. I will come on to one of the other issues I thought in terms of that. But yeah, how did you see this game from Cooper's perspective, Sam?
I mean, two ways of looking at it. Are that he faced 9 shots and conceded 2. So he did save shots, but no, I think his kicking, his passing was poor. And there was one moment that it should have been 3-1. He passed it, I think it was to Peck, while he had a Boro man basically sharing the same shirt right up behind him. It was some poor passing, and I think he's lucky to have not caused a goal directly, because I don't think he was brilliant. That being said, of course, he did face some like another 7 shots and didn't concede from those. But also, I think the defense let him down. So
They did.
yeah, no, not great. Not a great performance.
No, I agree. So number-wise, where are you sitting? How would you rate him? 1 to 10? How harsh are we going?
So if I were to do this, I would say that 5 is just like the bare minimum of a good an all right performance, and then anything below that is where you're not having a good day. So I'm going to go for 4.
I absolutely concur. I have also gone for a 4 for Michael Cooper in this one. I thought it was particularly around his distribution. I think you're right. He did seem to make saves in the game. I thought there were a couple of moments where he made decent saves. Actually, Morgan Whittaker had a couple of decent chances in the first half. I thought he did well. One of them in particular, he got it and then distributed it quickly, which I like to see, but there wasn't enough of that. It was one moment in a game of real difficulty for him. So no, I agree. We're going to 4 for Michael Cooper. Now, do join in, by the way, if you want to give us your thoughts, get your player ratings into the comments. We'll throw them up on screen. We'll see if they influence us, whether you agree, whether you disagree. I think it'll be great to talk about those. I'm also aware that I have completely forgot to do the tech side of this video, and now I will see how the tech works. So, Sam, up next, we are talking about Femi Sirike, and we get lovely graphics that come alongside the discussion of Femi Sirike. So from my perspective, I think he's been outstanding recently. I do think he's been in a rich vein of form, but I thought this was one of the less effective games he's had in recent times. I thought particularly going forwards, I thought they defended against him really well. He wasn't finding it as easy to get to the byline, get those chances into the box. How did you see Sirike in this one?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think I really did. I just feel like he wasn't all that noticeable. I think we'll touch on it more in a minute, but I think just that partnership between him and Brooks just wasn't quite clicking today, and I've got my reasons on that, I think, as well. But I don't know. I didn't really know. This is what I mean. I didn't notice him too much. I guess he tried to stop that goal from Conway, and I don't think we can blame him for that. He's put himself in front of it, and the ball still just slipped underneath him. I wouldn't blame him for that. I don't know. I think it was just an average performance, really. I can't say anything good about it. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't noticeable for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I do think that's a quite a good summary of where I saw Siriki's game. I thought actually in terms of his attack going forwards, we were seeing effort from him. I thought he was really trying. There was a point, I think it was the first half, he got right down to the byline, got past his man, pulled it back, and the shot was blocked in the middle. So it wasn't that he wasn't trying to create, but he was.
There was that moment, of course, yeah.
It was struggling in terms of that full creativity it normally offers. The partnership with him and Brooks just wasn't clicking the way it has in recent weeks. However, I thought of the United performances on the day, particularly of the United defenders on the day, he was probably the one who was most solid in his performance. With that in mind, if we say 5 is a baseline, 4 we think is a poor, 6 is maybe just better than average, I would have lent towards a 6 for Siriki. But where were you sitting in that?
I was thinking 5 or 6, and I'll give it a 6 because of I'd forgotten that chance in the first half where he did classic Femi Siriki moves and somehow keeps the ball in and passes it into the middle. And unfortunately, I mean, that it should have been a goal, but unfortunately, it just blocked. It's just how football goes. So I'll give him a 6. 6.
So we'll land there for Femi Siriki, and that moves us into the centre-backs. Now, there's an interesting conversation about the centre-backs, but let's go into the comments just for this one, because I think we've had 2 comments here that both make the same point. SUFC Ryan, he thinks that, in particular, if you put Ben Mee in at the back and Riedewald comes in for Blaster, he thinks we have a different game. Now, let's first take that first section. Obviously, we'll come into Blaster and that conversation afterwards, but let's talk a little bit about the centre halves. First of all, you think that Ben Mee should come into this game? Before we talk about each of the individual centre backs, the pairing didn't work. I thought that Tommy Conway was dominant. He was always a threat in behind. He was bullying both with his movement, Morgan Whittaker with his dropping deep as well. They didn't know when to come and go. Would Ben Mee have helped in that situation, do you think?
I mean, if Ben Mee's coming in, he's coming in for Tanganga or Bindon. And I also don't think, because he went away for that injury, and I just think he's not been fully on it since then. I think it was only a hand injury, so it's not like a physical problem, but I think maybe you just, back, he's not on the pace, he's not had the game time or something, whatever it is, I don't know. But I just feel like, we've proven that Tanganga and Bindon are the duo, I think. I'm not saying Ben Mee wouldn't have had anything to apply to the game. He wouldn't have had something to do. I think he could have made a difference, but it wouldn't have been the changes that I would have made. I wouldn't put it on that. That being said, I'm not a fan of our centre-backs' performance last night. So take that as you will.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I thought the same. I thought before kickoff, Tanganga and Bindon were the first choice centre-half partnership. I still think they should be, but I thought both of them individually had really poor games yesterday. We touched on it a little bit, but let's throw up the graphic now. We have had in the comments a recognition that this graphic is massive. And does appear right in front of our faces. So what I'll do is I'll throw it up to say that we're talking about Japhet Tanganga, then I will just drop it down so that we can have our conversation around that. So for me, I thought this was one of Tanganga's poorest games since moving to centre-half. I just thought he never got a handle on that movement of Tony Conway. He gave him the runaround. The way they pressed meant that we never had comfortableness. That's not a word. We never had any comfort in possession in terms of trying to play out from the back. This was the kind of game that I thought we'd sign Tanganga to step up in. I thought that was where he was going to take his game to the next level, elevate the entire team performance. And actually, I thought he dropped away. I thought it was one of his poorer games, as I've said before. Where did you think about Tanganga in this one?
Yeah, I mean, this would be a bit of a throwback. my problem that I have with Jack Robinson, this is connected, I promise. The problem I have with Jack Robinson wasn't fully that he was a defensive liability. He was, but that, we've always had players like that, and that's fine because we're not Premier League. We're not supposed to have players that are just going to be 100% the best at all times. It'd be lovely, but that's just how football works, unfortunately. He was our captain, and that was my problem. Is that I thought he was really poor in terms of how he handled himself, and he blew up on people. I think Tanganga the last few games has shown me. I'm not saying he shouldn't be the captain, but I'm just saying that it feels like he's kind of mouthing off at the ref a lot. I think that's why he had such an issue in the game he got booked in when he got sent off. I think he'd had a run in with the referee already, and he'd been talking to him, and I think he even got a yellow for mouthing off at him. And then he went and did a reckless challenge, and I think the ref said, you've got warnings already, you're off. I mean, I still think it was a harsh red card, but I just think he's losing his head a bit. And I also just don't think, in terms of this game, the composure wasn't there from much of our defense. I think we were quite open at the back, which is such a shame because I've trusted a lot of our defense most of this season since Wilder's come in, of course. Not a good game for Tanganga, I'm afraid.
So, with that in mind, are we saying 4, 5?
In terms of the playing, I would have given a 5, but just because for me, how I feel about, he's supposed to be a captain that represents us as a club, he's supposed to be better. And so I think 4, I don't think he's been a good example.
Interesting stuff. I have got written in my notes a 5, but I think it is a toss-up. I do think it was a poor performance. Let's give him a 4. And then let's move into Tyler Bindon, because I think this ties together quite nicely. Because for me, everything we've just said about Tanganga, I think applies to Bindon. Thought he had a poor game in terms of being able to track the movement. Didn't think he was as strong in winning his tackles. There were a few times he pressed forward, and then they were around him very, very quickly in terms of trying to get back. But for me, the biggest issue for Tyler Bindon in this game was his possession on the ball. He was the one passing it back to Cooper in difficult situations. They were swarming in the press, putting it onto Bindon. He couldn't find a forward pass to get out of the press. And in his panic was maybe undercutting Cooper at times, or maybe just playing a pass back that put him in a bad situation, meant he was rushing a kick, meant that he just had to try and get rid of it somewhere. Yeah. And that increased the pressure on a goalkeeper who was already struggling. And so that for me was the bit where Bindon really struggled in this game. Is that how you saw it?
Yeah, exactly that. And the same thing, talking about back passes, he did that little back heel pass to Burrows, and we lost the ball, and I don't think we conceded from that, but we nearly did. And it's just another one of those nightmare situations where you've given Burrows nothing to work with, and you've nearly cost us a goal. And it's the same thing as what Cooper was doing, and that's probably because he was getting terrible balls from Bindon. I think, Bindon was poor, and I think that first goal, I mean, he's tracking a man, but he's probably tracking the wrong man, because there's all of a sudden this big gap that Conway runs into, and he's totally open to get it. And it leads to the fact that Sariki's our last man when he shouldn't be. He should be marking other players. We're supposed to got our 2 backline defenders doing that. Poor game from Bindon. And if I gave him a number, I think, because if I gave Tanganga a 4, I don't like to do it. I have to give Bindon a 3, because he was making those passes that were really putting his teammates under pressure. I don't like to say these things. I'm a positive man, but I'm going to have to give him a 3 if I'm giving Tanganga a 4.
I am going to overrule you, and I'm going to give him a 4 as well, level with Tanganga. I thought performance-wise, both centre-halves really struggled in this game. Thought they were both quite poor. Like you say, I think on the ball, Bindon really struggled. But I do think we downgraded Tanganga a little bit for that captaincy side as well. So I think performance levels, it does make sense in terms of going that way. So that's where I'm going to land on this one. But let's move to the left back, talk Harrison Burrows, because my main comment is I just miss McCallum. And that's nothing against Burrows necessarily. McCallum was just having a fantastic season. And I did think Burrows struggled. Not that it was all his fault. We have to think about this team as partnerships, but also as how they function as a whole. And Bindon was quite isolated in terms of having support from Harmer. We know that Harmer's biggest strength is not defensively, but it meant that Burrows was often isolated 2-on-1. We knew Bindon was having a bad day. Doesn't make it a good situation for Burrows to try and succeed in. However, I thought his set-piece delivery was poor. I didn't think he was able to drive us forward the way he sometimes does. I thought in terms of his in possession play, he was generally turning back, finding safe passes rather than doing what he did so well last season in trying to drive us forward. So, yeah, all in all, I thought Burrows was better than the centre halves, if I'm, showing my hand early, but I didn't think it was a good game from him.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, we're going to miss McCallum. If he's out for the season or if he's out for a few months, whatever it is, we're really going to miss him. And it's such a shame because we know Burrows of last season was so brilliant, and I would have trusted him to do anything. But not a great game from him. And I think, yeah, I think part of his, I'm going to blame other players again. I think everyone was kind of, they weren't helping each other at all. And I think Burrows' performance was greatly affected by Harmer. We'll get onto that, of course, later on. But I think defensively he was alone and he had nothing to do. He was in a lot of 2v1s, which he shouldn't have been. I think he probably was better than the defenders, so I would go 5.
Agreed.
But I think that's just because I think it was just bang average. Like he kicked the ball, and that's not much I can say else. I mean, he was there. He played his position, just not very well. I'm going to give it a 5. Yeah.
I agree. I've gone for a 5. I thought he struggled, but I think there were a lot of mitigating circumstances actually for him in terms of why he struggled. And so I think a 5 is a fair reflection of where I saw his game. Now, that takes us into the midfielders. And there is a lot of chat on this already in the comments. Yeah. People are already giving their thoughts on where they go. I flashed up SUFC Ryan's chat earlier where he wanted to put Riedewald in for Blaster because he felt that would fix a lot of our midfield problems. We've also got Michael Petty here talking us through the fact that he just feels Blaster shouldn't be starting games right now because he's still recovering from that injury and isn't quite at the pace. I think where I land on this one is, my comment is, I just don't think he's fit. I don't think Ollie Blaster is fit right now to be starting games of football in the Championship. If he was also suffering with an illness yesterday, it's understandable that he struggled. I thought we were playing against the best midfield. I've said this consistently all season on the EFL debate with Gab Sutton, where I just think Boro have got the best midfield in this division. I think with Hackney and Morris, they're just levels above anybody else in the division. Yeah. And so you put somebody who's not fit, who's ill, into that situation, they are going to struggle. They should not be being forced into a team when they're not ready. And that is not Ollie Blaster's fault. And so in rating his performance, we have to rate him for what he did on the pitch. But I want to be fair to the lad that he's maybe being asked to do something that he's just not in a physical position to be able to do right now. So, yeah, what did you feel about Blaster's performance yesterday?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with Michael Petty in saying that he shouldn't be starting games. We've been in a position where we don't have that solid midfield for a little while. We're losing Riedewald has really affected us. We've still won games with that, of course, but it's a big difference without him in the side. And I think that's why we've brought in Phillips and Rothwell. People talked about why we brought in 2, but I think it actually does make sense because I don't think Blaster's at the level. I think he's really good on the ball, but he's not at the physical level. He's not got any sort of pace in him. I don't think he's fit. So of course he's going up against a brilliant midfield. I think the whole team, we can say they've gone up against a brilliant team overall, but it wasn't a good game for him. And I was glad to see him come off at halftime. That's what I wanted. And I think that's probably what I've probably wanted for the last few games. It's just, I don't blame him, but he's not up to it. He's not up to it.
I completely agree. It's not on his shoulders, I don't think. I just think he shouldn't be being put in that position right now, particularly when I do think we've got a midfield that we've seen that works quite functionally. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Samari solves all of our problems, but if we don't believe Rothwell or Phillips are fit, I do think that we've seen Peck and Samari as a partnership work. I think we've won games like that. We've looked dynamic playing like that. They clearly can facilitate each other's strengths. And I just don't think we've seen it. And I think, I've scored our Blaster a 4. But to be honest, it might be a little generous. I think there is an argument there for a 3 in terms of how he was dominated in this game of football.
Yeah. No, definitely. Probably the same.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What I like to say about it, though, is that I remember I did a video with Hal a little while ago, and he was saying, "Oh, wouldn't you want our Blaster to be starting in our what's our preferred 11?" And he he said Arblaster. And I was like, yeah, but we don't know if he's going to be back and fit, if he's going to be the same guy. And I just think, I might have been a bit right on that.
Yeah, I think you might have been, because I think a fully fit 100% Ollie Arblaster, I want him starting in my team.
I think we
60% fit, not at the pace of the game, Ollie Arblaster. We need to give him time, maybe give him time in the under-21s, let him really get his fitness back. He's been out a long time, and it's so much to ask to get somebody in at the Championship playing at this level.
Yeah, second half of the season. What am I talking about? So last season, I think we could have done so much more if he hadn't gotten injured. He just looked like such incredible quality. I remember all the tackles he was putting in the box without conceding a penalty, the goals and the assists, and just the blocks. He was just everywhere. Yeah. It's such a shame to see him not be at that level. But he's still young. He's like 6 months older than me, so he could definitely get there.
That's depressing to think about. Thanks for that, Sam, because he's about 10 years younger than me. But, it's fine. We move on and we pretend that I'm not getting old. So, yeah, we'll give him a 3, and I think we'll crack on to his partner. Now, Sidney Peck has had an interesting season, because he's had moments where he's been fantastic and moments where he has struggled in terms of trying to take those forward. But I want to talk about the fact, we've touched on it a little bit, that I think it wasn't the right midfield partnership. But it's dysfunctional. And let me talk about why I think that's the case. There was a point yesterday where, obviously, I'm going to say I paused the game. I didn't pause the game. I was sat in the ground. So I don't know what I mean when I say that. But I almost had like a screenshot in front of me where if you stop the game, I think it was around 25 minutes, something like that. You looked at United's structure and you'd got Peck pushed forward into an advanced midfield position. You'd got Blaster dropped back, so he was sat just in front of United's 2 centre-halves. In the gap, which was probably 15, 20 yards between Peck and Arblaster, there were 4 Middlesbrough midfielders stood in a perfect line across the middle. When we then moved into our press, what happened was the centre-half clipped it to the left-back, who had 4 players available to receive the ball in 5 yards of space. Because we'd got that balance so wrong. We'd just got that entire structure through our midfield so that it was dysfunctional, and they could just play in those half spaces to try and take themselves forward. They always had a pass on, and they always had an overload then because they got 2 players free either side to push onto the defender. What we needed was a midfield that came together to marshal that central bit. So if you pick out their 4, you have 2 stood with a centre. If it comes to the left, you press out. You can follow each other along. You then double up, and you almost form that partnership that can cover those spaces so that we're not getting hit so quickly in transition. We just never fixed that. And so Peck is being rated here because I thought he was in a dysfunctional partnership. Second half, I thought he improved a lot. I thought the first half, Sidney Peck, I'd be scoring probably alongside Blaster in the low ratings. Second half, Sidney Peck, I thought was much better. I thought he was a key part of driving us forward. There was moments around the edge of the box where I'm screaming at him to shoot, but he had some lovely footwork trying to get through into the box, trying to create a chance. I thought he did enough to elevate his performance to not be in the negative, shall we say, in terms of how I'm looking at rating him. But what did you think about Peck in his sort of game yesterday?
It's the same thing. I just think we've got that midfield 2 we've won games with them, but they're not up to facing top of the league, Middlesbrough. I just think they're not physically competitive. Sidney Peck, he's not short, but he's not a big man. He's I've met him. He's the only player that I've actually met in person. Also about 6 months older than me. And he's not that physical presence. Last season that was Vinny Souza. This season it's been Riedewald. Together we've spoken about our Blasters' lack of physicality. They don't have that. They're just kind of 2 players that we know can be good on the ball. Maybe even score a goal or 2, but it's just then it's not what we need. So individual performance for Peck, probably just average. I mean, second half he definitely improved. I think we can say that about most players, if not everyone. But I would go for a 5. Just middle of the park. Didn't do anything special. Had a few chances to score. Unfortunately, didn't come through. But I'd 5.
I agree, a 5. Now, what we're going to do is, because obviously our Blaster played 45 minutes, we need to rate the player who didn't play the other 45 minutes. Joe Rothwell came on at half-time. He lasted 30 minutes before being sent off for you'll have had a better view of it than me with replays and everything else. From where I was sat in the ground, he's been sent off for a, quite frankly, ridiculous attempt at a tackle. Don't know what he was trying to do. Don't know what he was thinking. Don't know why he's gone in like that. And I would generally expect better from a seasoned professional, especially when United were just getting really on top of this game. I really was backing us 11v11. I thought we would have equalised. 11v10, we made that so much harder for ourselves with one stupid decision. And I thought he really let us down in that moment. But again, you'll have seen better than me. What were your thoughts on Rothwell?
I mean, it's harsh. It's his debut. He's had a poor time at Rangers. Rangers had a poor start to the season as well. I'm not expecting him to come in and be brilliant. I'm also not expecting him to get sent off on his debut, which is really a shame. And I think everybody's going to be quite harsh on him, and perhaps they should be. I think when I initially saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's bad." I flashed him on I thought he got it at first because the ball moves, but I don't think it's because he touches it. I think it's being touched on by the Boro player. And I'm like, oh, that's a great tackle. And then in a split second, I was like, no, that's not a good tackle. And it flashed in my mind, no, surely that's not a red. I mean, it looked bad, but I'm not seeing a red. It's probably just a yellow. It's fine. And then the red came up. That's when I got very angry and I stormed around the house a bit, did a bit of shouting. And then I came back and I watched the replay, and he's nowhere near the ball. It looks like he's going to be near it, and I think maybe that touch just puts it way too out of his reach. And I think he's already committed himself, because we know he's a good player. He's played in the championship. He won the championship in that 3-1 game against us last season for Leeds. He came on and changed the game. We were 1-0 up. We lost 3-1. So I think he had a massive part to play in that game, and we know he can play well. I just think he's committed to this tackle, and the ball it's away. By the time he's already going for it, it's away, and he can do nothing but absolutely batter in that midfielder. So yeah, it's poor, and I'm very disappointed to see that he's been booked and sent off. It's so harsh, to be honest. But it's his mistake. Unfortunately, I could see what he was going for. He was going for a Jack Robinson, and he's unfortunately not Jack Robinson, which is crazy to say that we needed Jack Robinson in that moment. So yeah, no, poor. Unfortunately, he started to grow into the game, but he started off poorly as well, I think. So we're gonna have to give him a 4 at the best.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm giving him a 3. I'm overruling you because I'm marking him down. He gets an automatic -1 for the red card. Didn't think he was having a fantastic impact before that, but that's to get him up to speed. I'm not writing him off, not saying he's a bad player. I actually think he's really exciting. I think the fact he's a permanent deal, 18-month contract is really important, and I think he's going to have a huge impact next season and for the rest of this season. He's got caliber. We know he's a fantastic footballer. He just got this one wrong. It happens to all the players. Let's move on from it. Let's not judge him by it and have it hang over his head forever. But it was a poor start to his career. That's all it was. We move on. Now, we're not going to talk about all the subs, but there is another sub who came on who I think it's worth talking about because he actually made me excited. Calvin Phillips came on, quick thinking pass from a free kick, immediately sets up our goal. Like, so often we get a free kick in that position and we stand around for a little bit and we don't know what we're going to do. He just clipped it straight across to get Harmer on the ball and get us moving forwards in a creative space. That was fantastic. I thought when he got the ball at his feet, he just looked to have strength that a lot of our midfielders don't have. He wasn't knocked off the ball quickly. Even with 2 or 3 men around him, he could hold on to the ball and find a pass or get out of tight spaces. That was really good to see. And when we get him up to full speed, that could be an unbelievable asset for the rest of this season. I have some concerns. He picked up a booking, and I thought the booking he picked up was mainly because he didn't have the athleticism. They broke past him really quickly, and he didn't win that tackle the way that maybe you would expect him to. You know, this is somebody who 18 months ago was England's Player of the Year. Like, he's got a massive pedigree, but I thought you can still see the rustiness of not playing much football in the last few years. And so, yeah, I thought it was an exciting debut. There are still some flags that are flagging, but overall, I thought he was good and I really liked him. And I got some texts off friends who are Boro fans who just put, oofed, Calvin Phillips is all right. Why is he playing in the championship? So I think that's good signs and hopefully we can get him up to speed soon. Where do you think he sits?
Yeah, no, I thought he did a very good game. As you're saying, was England Player of the Month or something, which was 5 years ago. it was around Euros time, which was 2021. It's 2026, Ollie. Where has the time gone? He's been at 3 clubs since then. He was at Leeds during the Euros. He's now been at Man City since 2022, 23. Then he was at West Ham and Ipswich, and now he's with us.
Okay, so what we've discovered is your boy's getting old. Wow.
I'm really sorry. That felt so mean, but I just felt like we had to clear the air to make sure that was understood.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you clarified. Wow.
But no, I think, yeah, obviously we know he's a brilliant player. I remember watching the Euros and he was great. He was brilliant. I think he wasn't the player for me at my naive understanding of football at the time. He wasn't the player that stood out, but he was very good, of course. We know that. And he got moved to Man City. That move has ruined his career, unfortunately. But, you know, here we are. I think he'd come in. He's played that game for however many minutes, half an hour or something. And I thought he was brilliant. Yeah. He wasn't incredible, but I just think we saw that he can play. Of course he can play. We know he can play. It's just it's a situation where he's not had the game time. He's been in a squad that's got Ballon d'Or winning Rodri in his same position, and he's not going to get into that, is he? Realistically, so he's not had the game time, and he's had really poor loan spells. But I think Wilder's really good at bringing in players that aren't having a good time and making them something great. Look at Bamford, scored again last night, and he's brilliant. I think the same will go for Rothwell and Phillips. He brought in Ben Mee, who's hardly played at all. Ben Mee's been good most of the time. Rob Holding last season was great. He'd hardly played as well. So I think what he'll do is the same thing. He'll bring in these players, and they're gonna get to a speed. And I think Phillips has already shown his intelligence. I think he really had the mind for it last night, and he made that pass. And we'll move on to Harmer soon. But I think he's going to be a very good addition. I'm very happy to see him in the squad.
I agree. And I think, a good day. Hard to rate 30 minutes. Let's say a 7 because I'm excited. I'm in a good mood. So let's.
Okay, I was going to go 6, but 7. Yeah, definitely.
7. It's where we've landed. It's where I've landed. And that is ultimately what matters. So moving on to those sort of 3 behind the attack. Andre Brooks, I like to go from right to left because that just feels natural to me. So Andre Brooks, I thought he caused problems for their defence. I thought he always made himself an option. Didn't think it was his most eye-catching performance of recent games. He struggled down that right-hand side. The partnership wasn't quite there with Sarike, but we still saw quite a bit from him. And I think it's a real sign of how much he's developed, to be honest, because previously when he had a quiet game, he might as well have not been there. He was having a quiet game and you thought, actually, we might as well play with 10 because he's not able to impose anything in this game. Whereas here, he had a quiet game where he still had an impact. We're still able to get on the ball. We're still able to try and interlink play going forwards. He was still trying to be the press to try and make sure. He was bypassed a bit easily, but he was still trying to be there. And I actually liked that from him. So I think even though it was a poorer game, it was a game that reminded me how much he has developed over the last 6 months to the player who he is now. Because even in a poorer game, we're seeing a lot more from him. And I thought that was positive. Where did you feel Brooks' performance was?
I said earlier, and you've just said as well, that I think that partnership wasn't quite working with Sarike. And I don't know what it is specifically, but I also felt like he wasn't that mobile last night. And I don't think he's fully fit. He was limping off the ground against Oxford. He somehow scored that great goal. But you see, just before that, he's hobbling into the box before he then gets onto the ball and somehow doesn't lose it before scoring. I don't think he's probably not fit, but just because it didn't look like he was playing as the, I'm going to call him the Yorkshire Messi. Just didn't feel like he's got the Yorkshire Pirlo and we've got the Yorkshire Messi. He wasn't quite hitting it, that mobility. He wasn't poor though, and I think he was probably one of our better attacking. He's one of 3 main attackers. I think, I was happy with his performance considering the team we were up against, the way the team was playing, and also the fact that I don't think he's fit. I would go for a 6.
I will concur with you on a 6. And I also realised that the scoring so far, we've been low. I thought we played really well in this game. We were just playing against a really good team. But you also have to recognise that you can only score against the team you're playing against. If you're being dominated by your opposing number, then your score is going to come out lower. That's not to say that we were bad. That's not to say those individual performances necessarily were terrible. It's that actually they were worse than the opponent they were up against. The centre halves beaten by Tommy Conway every single time. Conway would come out with a great score because he played really well, and therefore they were losing their individual battles. The central midfielders, exactly the same. They lost their battles against players who were at the top of their game, playing really well. This isn't a reflection of quality. It's just that they weren't able to win the battles they were up against. And so, yeah, just bear that in mind as we go through some of these. So into the centre in Callum O'Hare, and I love Callum O'Hare. I won't pretend I don't, but I thought this wasn't his game. I just really felt as though it wasn't his game. It felt as though every time the pass was coming to him, it was just in front, just out of reach, just going past him to the centre halves. I thought with the press being completely ineffective from United, the way they played through us, it meant that we couldn't take advantage of his energy. We couldn't take advantage of his positional play. We weren't able to force mistakes, which he does so well, which he can then turn into an attacking position. And so his effectiveness really dropped off in this game. I thought he did what he does. It just didn't work. And sometimes that's going to happen when you're up against a really good team.
No, I think you're completely right with that. He wasn't at the level. No, I don't think any of our players, maybe one or two, were at the level that we needed to be to win that game. Obviously, it looked like we were going to get a point towards the end, but I think he was probably off by that point. I think I also love O'Hare. He's my mum's favorite player. I think she just really likes his hair, to be honest. No, he's a brilliant player, but I think it was just a bit average, 5 maybe.
I think that's fair. I've also gone for a 5 because basically I've not got anything terrible to say, but I haven't got anything good to say. I think he was the average performance in this game, and I think that's a fair reflection. So now there's somebody here. We move to the left wing. I think I've got something unbelievably brilliant to say. I also think I've got something bad to say. I think there is a balance to the performance of Gustavo Harmer. I thought on the day he was probably the pick of the bunch in terms of what we offered, in terms of his creativity, the way he played forward. First off, he had 2 really great efforts on goal. One of them, keeper makes a fantastic save. The other, relatively routine, but would have been a great goal if it had gone in. I thought our good attacking play came through him in terms of him trying to create, get against his man, isolate his man one-on-one to find the passes. I thought he played 2 passes that I just don't know who else never mind our team, but who else in the division plays them. There's one to Bamford in the first half, which is just unbelievable in behind the defence. Bamford, I thought, should do better, but we'll come to that. The pass itself, though, is perfection. There's then the one for the goal. I credited how well I thought Phillips' play was. A really quick pass out to Harmer. The pass from Harmer is just as good as the one that he did to Ogbeni last week. He just finds the gap. There is such a small gap to play that into, and there are so few players who can do that. It is a special talent, and we are lucky to have him in our team. However, we did talk about Harrison Burrows earlier, and he was isolated and exposed. That's because Harmer's not got the work rate to cover him coming back defensively. It might not be what we're asking him to do, but it did mean in the game yesterday that had a big influence, particularly first half, in the freedom and space they were able to get for them to hit us in transitions and play forward. So I thought Harmer, spoiler alert, I think he probably will get man of the match from us in terms of the positive impact he had on United's performance and the way he drove us on. But I do think there's a question mark here about whether or not him and Burrows, especially this season's version of Burrows, can really hold down that left-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, I've got pretty much the same thing to say. We've got Yorkshire Pirlo, we've got Yorkshire Messi. We're going to go with Yorkshire Kevin De Bruyne with those passes. Just some of those passes he's been doing recently. His overall, team play or just playing as a footballer hasn't been to the level we know it can be at. I think he's getting back there, definitely. But what is irreplaceable, I think, about him is the creativity, and those passes are just immense, insane. The way Bamford doesn't even have to take a touch before he shoots. It's the first time, and it leads him all the way up into the box. But how? Same thing. Brilliant pass up to Bamford and to Ogbeni in the previous game. Something to be said about Bamford's finish on that first attempt, but it's also the exact same thing as I mentioned when I was talking about Burrows, is that he was just left alone, and he's doing 2-on-1s, sometimes 3-on-1 because he's got Whitaker, Brown, and Britton all running at him, and we know that Burrows just isn't that guy. I mean, even if he was last season's man, still isn't that guy. He's not going to do what he needs to do there, because how can he? He's got two or three players up against him, and he's just outmanned. And I think that's what one of the main things we're missing from Harmer is we know he's got work rate. I remember last season he would be tracking back, and I don't know if that's fitness or not, or if he's been told to do something else. Whatever it is, it's not coming through, and we suffered for that. Yeah. So Burrows was left alone and was really exposed, and I think that comes down to Harmer. But his passes are so good, and his second half performance was much better, as we can say about most people. Yeah. So I feel that you're going to want to go 7, or do you want to go 8?
I want to go 7.
I was thinking 7 is probably. I mean, if it was just the second half performance, I probably would go 8.
Yeah.
7 though, but just because he's left Burrows out to dry. So yeah, we'll go 7, I think.
Yeah. 7 it is. So brings us to the final player we're going to talk about, because like I said, I don't think we should go over all the subs, particularly the ones who I didn't think had a massive impact in terms of the game coming forward. So let's talk about Patrick Bamford. So great goal, took it really well, finished beautifully.
Yeah.
Should have had a hat-trick. And I'm still screaming in my head about the first one, the pass from Harmer, perfection. Takes it down. Why did he kick that with his left foot? Why did he kick that with his left foot? Like, I don't understand. The angle was never there.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a striker. When I'm playing football, I'm in goal because I can't run at all. But I mean, yeah, he's weak-footed it. Maybe he's not even aiming for near post because it's weak foot. But I feel like maybe he's got what's his name, Malanda or something like that.
Malanda,
the Boro defender he's closing on him. When you look at the replays, he had to shoot then, otherwise he was going to hit Malanda in the face, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But then we wouldn't have scored a goal. So yeah, no, I think he's just got to shoot at that point, and that's why he goes left foot. Do it. He's got that in his locker, but it just clearly doesn't come off. Either he might not have even been aiming near post. It's a shame. It's really a shame. But at the same time, I think it can't have been the easiest thing to do. What a ball to then bring it down with your foot that way and to control it the way he does is already tricky enough. And he's got so much pressure on him, and it's a tight angle. It's not central. So I'm not going to put too much blame on him for that. It's a real shame. I would like to have liked for him to score.
So we forgive the first one. Let's talk about the second one, because this was possibly, in a game where Boro were unbelievably good, this could have been the best passage of play from either team. One-touch passing all the way through. We cut through their defence like butter. It gets to the byline. It's pulled across. The net is just waiting for the tiniest touch, anything at all, right at the start of the second half. It's 2-0. We've come out flying. Literally, I think it's 90 seconds into the second half. It's flashed across goal. Now, again, maybe I've not got the right angle on this, but to me, he's just got to knock this into the back of the net. I can't believe he doesn't throw himself at it to get that contact, make it 2-1, and then take us forward. Was it as big a chance as I'm saying? Did he have it? Should he have been there?
It's tricky. I think he should have reacted quicker. Where he was considering where he was and where the ball was and whether he needed to meet, if he'd lunged for it, I think he misses it. It's too far in front of him. But I think he should have, looking at the line of offside, he's got another half a meter to move before he's even nearly offside. I think he needs to react quicker and just take a few steps closer. You can see it in the replay. He starts to accelerate. It's not like he's running, but he takes those quicker steps forward to get towards the goal just too late. And by the time it's coming in front of him, he slows down because he knows he's not getting it. If he lunged at it, he'd need to have a lot of pace behind him already to reach it. I think it's out of reach. It's always ifs, buts, maybes. But I think it's too far in front of him, but he should have reacted quicker before it was even passed. He needed to be there already. And that's what he usually is good at. He's a poacher. He's a number 9. He's in that position. And just last night, he just wasn't. It was such a shame.
I was just waiting for the net to bulge. But Then we come to a really good goal. Takes it really well, brings it down lovely, fantastic pass, just good football in terms of getting this into the back of the net. Thought he finished it really well as well. And actually, his overall performance, I thought, was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's overall, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't special. Not too much to say about it. I'm not going to rate him very highly, but that finish, that goal is made by Phillips and Harmer. I think Bamford, it's such a brilliant pass. All he needs to do is just run towards the ball. And it's a beautiful finish. It's a brilliant finish, but I don't think it's anything special in terms of, he should score that.
Should.
Any decent striker will score that. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 6. He scored a goal. I think the goal bolsters his rating, because if you look at FOTMob as well, his rating isn't even in the 70s, and he got a goal. He got the only goal in our team. So yeah, it's not a brilliant performance. It's okay. He was all right. It's just a goal on his record, isn't it?
Yeah. So goal on his record, I think a 6 is fair. I think he could have taken one of the other 2 chances that were presented to him, but I thought he finished it lovely. I thought he led the line well and occupied 2 really good defenders. Again, we are playing against a team that was so good. I thought he got a lot right. So yeah, I think a 6 is fair. So players done. Brings us to the last person to talk about, Chris Wilder. And this, I think, is going to be the most controversial discussion. It might be the most controversial Chris Wilder chat I've needed to have since doing the player ratings videos. And apparently I'm really excited about that. So I'm jigging around in my chair. Let me go first, because it might take the pressure off your shoulders, Sam. I thought that tactically we were naive in the first half. I think we got the starting 11 wrong. We didn't have a balance in midfield. And as we covered earlier when we were talking about them, it meant that we were completely dysfunctional and allowed them so much time and space to be able to hit us in transition with their fast attacking players. They got their tactics spot on, knew when to press, knew when to hold. And when we pressed, it was disorganized so that they could come through us quite quickly. I thought that what we did was really admirable. And I don't want to deny that I enjoyed United's performance. I enjoyed this game of football. I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching United. I enjoyed some of our attacking play. I enjoyed the way we were passing the ball around. I enjoyed the way that we went at them with intensity and with energy and really wanting to push them back. We wanted to play this game on the front foot. We wanted to play this game at our level and just go out and beat them as Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, the way that we think we should beat every team in the Championship, because we should do at Bramall Lane. However, I thought in this context, it was naive because it made it a good game. It made it impressive. It made us all go, oh, aren't we good? Haven't we played well? But it also meant we lost this game of football because it increased the likelihood of our defeat by pressing them and attacking them the way we did. We could have played this game smarter. The way that Boro struggle, and if you ask any Boro fan this question, they'll say it's been exactly the same for 3, 4, 5 years. You sit against Boro in a low block, you frustrate them, you hit them on the counter with a fast transition. That's where they struggle. It's how they have lost all points that they lose because they just can't break down that. They're a better team than they have been. They might have broke us down. They might have won this game anyway. It might not have increased our chances of winning. What do I know? I'm sat here in my office pretending I know what I'm talking about. But to me, I thought the first half and the way we approached it gave them a better chance of being able to create chances, gave them a better chance of hurting us. And so there's a real sort of mix in my brain of, I am proud of the performance and the way we went after this game. And I enjoyed it. And I am excited by what it means for us going forward because we proved ourselves to be one of the top teams in this division. Yes, we've probably left ourselves too much to do for it to matter come the end. But for the next 3 months, we're going to watch a really exciting, really good football team. But we're going to watch an exciting, good football team that lose games of football when maybe we could have got a positive result playing a little bit smarter. And that's the dichotomy in my brain. And that's where I'm at with how we approach this. What are your thoughts in terms of how we went at this game of football?
Not too dissimilar. I think when I saw the team sheet out, I was like, oh, class. I don't think we can really have any better team because I wasn't expecting us. Well, I thought we might start Rothwell over Blaster, but I wasn't too upset about it. Obviously, as I was saying earlier, we've won games with Blaster and Peck in the midfield. It doesn't look like the most steady thing in the world, but it works sometimes. But in hindsight, I probably would have started one of them, either Phillips or well, I would have started Phillips. Now that we've seen that performance, I wouldn't expect him to start any game for the next month or so, to be honest. But no, it looks like maybe he could play at least 45 minutes, maybe 60, as Wilder always makes his substitutions in the 60th minute. I think I'm going to talk about substitutions more. I think players like Burrows and Brooks should have come off sooner. I think Burrows it was left alone, and I'm not saying that it's entirely his fault. As I was saying, Harmer I think made a big issue for everyone else in that aspect. But I think Hjelde, I don't know, I feel like he's more of a defender. He just Burrows is great going forward, and we know he can defend, but he's not been doing it to his best ability. And Hjelde, I think I would have preferred to be our left back at least at half time. Maybe not, but Burrows came off with only like 10 minutes to go at the best, and he probably should have come off earlier to give ourselves a better chance. Blaster came off at half time. I think that was the right call, but maybe he shouldn't have started, and that's the issue we've already got. Peck coming off, fine, yeah, because he came on for Phillips, and Phillips was great. Brooks, as I said, I don't think he's fit, and I think we could have used Ogbene's pace, because we were making those pushes towards the end, and we were looking like we could score another. We can make this 2-2. We can try and get something out of this. And Brooks wasn't doing anything wrong. I just don't think he had the legs to keep up with it last night. He looked tired, and I just didn't think he was agile. And Ogbene obviously came on and scored the other day, and we know he's rapid. He is rapid, and I think he could have made a difference. In terms of how he laid out, how he played the game, the pundits were saying, not the pundits, the commentators were saying when I was watching the game that Boro do the same thing. Towards the 70th mark, they start to concede goals and fall apart. They'll play really well, and then they'll just fall apart. And that's been happening in their recent games. And clearly, that's true, because we started to go at them, and we were looking like we could get something out of it. And I think that just brings it back to what I was saying a moment ago. I don't think we capitalized on that at all. Obviously, we lost Rothwell, went down to 10 men, and that made a huge difference. But we still didn't even look that bad after he went off. I mean, we weren't able to do much with it at that point. And you know what, Cooper coming up into the box, I thought we were going to concede the same way that Liverpool did against City the other day. They conceded on the break from a corner because Alisson went up. Well, I didn't actually. Anyway, point is, I thought we were going to have a massive. Yeah, I thought we were going to have a massive mistake like that, and that was just down to not having the right amount of players on the pitch. It's not good from Wilder, to be honest. But you know, can I blame him for the loss? Maybe, but it's not the sort of thing that I notice as much. I tend to notice individual performances and how they work as a team. I guess maybe I don't understand managing as well as I should to be able to give my opinions on it. But, you know.
It's fair. And it takes a good man to admit it. I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to give you all my opinions anyway, because that's just the way I roll. I think we should give Wilder a 5 for this.
I was going to say the same.
I think that's fair, because for everything I talked about earlier, all of the issues I thought the approach caused us, I can't deny I had fun watching Sheffield United yesterday.
Yeah.
This is an entertainment business, and I thought that was the best advert for Championship football I've seen in a long time. I thought it was a brilliant game. I really enjoyed it. I thought we deserved a point in the end. I thought the second half performance was so much better. We had them on the back foot. That'll be as tough a game as they're going to have in the running. They're not going to find it easy to come back. They'll have memories of Bramall Lane going, that were a game. They were good today. Because I thought we were, and I thought that was fair. So yeah, we'll give him a 5 and we'll call it there. We have managed to make this last an hour, which is a very new idea. I don't normally do that. That's fun. Check us out.
We just like talking, don't we?
We just love talking. That's just the way we do it. So what we will say is, I hope you enjoyed the new format. Let us know in the comments if you liked it, if you think it works. Let me know if you didn't like it and you don't think it works. You know,
I'll disappear if you need me
to. Yeah, we just want to know whether or not Sam's the problem. So if you could let us know, that'd be great. No, but mainly, I've really enjoyed it. I've had a fantastic time chatting this through with you. I had a fantastic time watching the game. I thought United were good. The ratings might not reflect that in some cases, but I just enjoyed a really good game of football between two really good teams. I have enjoyed talking about it with you as well, Sam. So thank you very much for joining me.
Absolutely. Always, always, always. It's a great time.
Brill. Right. So thank you for joining us. As I say, let us know in the comments your player ratings. Let us know if you've enjoyed the new style of video. And more than anything else, I hope you have a great week. We've got more live streams lined up for this week. There should be one on Wednesday and one on Thursday. So we look forward to seeing you there. But more than anything else, we only end this video in one way. Up the Blades.
Up the Blades.
Ole, ole, ole.